everybody,
Hello.
and welcome to the Macaw Podcast Universe. It's the podcast that exists to prove people wrong when they say what?
Sequels are never better than the originals.
And today we are talking about a spin-off,
Yeah.
which is indeed a sequel.
A prequel.
You're correct. Yes, you're correct. Of the series that was voted by everybody that we would cover, that we've been putting off for a very long time. It puts us. It's the fourth entry. It's X-Men Origin Wolverine. X-Men Origins, I think.
Yeah.
And we have a guest with us.
You have a guest.
We have a guest. It is our dear friend who. Well, I guess. Do I just introduce you, or do I say, you are not much of a superhero movie person from what I have seen and gathered. But then a couple of years ago, I heard this guest that I'm about to say loves X-Men. So we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Please welcome to the show, as Gilmore knocks over my water bottle.
It's going to be a wild one.
Uh-oh. Kateri Warnick. Hello.
Woo, it's me.
Yay.
I am an X-Men fan.
Wow.
That's me.
A while ago, I think, Micah told me that Kateri was going to guest on one of our episodes, and I was like, huh? That's great, but why? It's because I had no idea. And he's like, I think she's a big X-Men fan. And I'm like, wow.
No, I knew.
You knew at that point, but I had no idea. So this is a great surprise for me.
Surprise. I love X-Men. I'm kind of a fake fan in that I've never actually read comics or anything, but the movies, I am very fond of the movies. They hold a special place in my heart.
Wow. So do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's tough. I think probably X2.
Okay.
Yes.
But I do really love First Class. And I don't know. I honestly, all the way through Apocalypse, I love all of those. And I have been disappointed in the bummer of the last two, Dark Phoenix. And is this getting ahead of ourselves? I know you haven't covered
No, you can.
yet,
no,
but,
please.
Yeah, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants were letdowns for me, but I'm still I will watch any X-Men movie that comes out ever.
Wow.
So.
Nice.
But you're a big X-Men fan, but you weren't willing to go MCU because you knew Patrick Stewart was in Doctor Strange, and I remember going, Kateri, is that something that you're willing to go see? And you said no.
Yeah, if I guess maybe I don't have the best understanding of his role, but I just assumed it's not very significant, and I'm not willing to look at Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot about that.
Well, it's also if you don't watch the MCU movies, and it's I'm going to watch this one random one for this podcast. It's you're probably going to come in with more questions,
yeah,
right? And even opinions.
What is going on?
Yeah.
No, and I think it is skippable. It's fun, and I liked him in the movie, but I think as someone who has no investment in the MCU, it would be just kind of confusing to watch.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about Origins. Now you kind of gave me a list of the movies that you for the listener, Kateri said many movies that we could cover. And this one was coming up, and I was ready. I wanted Kateri on, so I chose this one for her of the ones she chose. But is there a particular reason why you would be into covering this movie?
This movie is pretty special because although I was I think 13 when The Last Stand came out, it was I didn't actually watch the movies until probably right after that came out was when I got into X-Men. So this movie, when it came out, it was the very first one that I saw in theaters. So I went to the midnight release of this.
Okay.
And actually so I saw it at midnight on Thursday or whatever, and then on Friday I went again in the daytime.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
They really were.
It's just today I'm I would never do that again. No matter how excited I am.
I know.
It's just too late.
Well, I mean, and now even if they do them, it's like what at like 10 o'clock or whatever. Like
I know, yeah,
so it doesn't feel.
It's
I don't
not
know.
as
Maybe
magical.
part of it, yeah. Like we're older, so maybe that's part of it too. But something about like going to a movie at midnight. I remember going to midnight releases and there just being like lines around the whole theater, like so many people excited, and now nothing. No one cares.
Yeah, now it's like I'm going to
pageantry.
see it at 6 p.m. the day before it's supposed to come out because that's preferable to my sleep schedule.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, we're the three of us are not that old. We're not even old. We're not. We're young. We're young people. But it is kind of like, I mean, during the pandemic when the theater shut down, I think I was even telling people, I'm like, when this theater opens up, I'm gonna go see 3 movies in one day. I haven't even gone to 2.
Wow.
I've only done that one time in my life because it's like I'm like, okay, now I'm tired. I want to go home.
I'm surprised you've only done that once in your life. Wait. 3 movies or 2?
2 movies. I've done it one time.
That's still surprising to me for you. I've seen 2 movies in a day.
Just once, I think. Yeah.
Wow. That was like when my family and I would go on our vacation trip to California. We would always have a day where we didn't go to Disneyland and we did something else. And often it was like, okay, let's go watch this movie. And then we get out of the theater and it's like, oh, this one's playing too. Let's just go see this one right now.
Yeah, I think because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
It's just not, even though I love watching movies and I watch them all the time, it's always like, I'll just go see one movie. And we live so close, it's easy to go home.
I mean, I think that we've been to the theater several days consecutively. So
yeah.
You've seen 2 movies in the theater probably in less than a 24-hour period.
Yes, I think we did that in November because we saw 4 movies in 7 days. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So for me with this movie, this was also the first X-Men movie I saw in theaters, and I went with the O'Hara gang. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So this came out in 2009. So I think we were freshmen in high school. Or sophomores.
I think we were going into high school that year.
Right.
Because I think I was an 8th grader when this came out.
Okay.
I could be getting my years mixed up, but anyway, because no, I am. We must have been freshmen. You're right. Saw it with the O'Haras at the White City Theater.
Wow.
And I was like, this movie rules. You know, Wolverine. He's got claws and he's killing people. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I have since not revisited it. And this is always kind of one of those movies, if you're looking up reviews or like checking out like superhero lists or movie lists or whatever, it's always one that people like unanimously malign and are kind of like, wow, that was a bad movie. And so I haven't watched it since until last night. And then we're going to talk about that. But we're not there yet because I want to hear what your experience is, Jordan.
This was my first time ever seeing it.
Wow. Welcome.
I had a lot of questions at the beginning of this movie, namely his name. Everyone's calling him Jimmy. I was very confused.
Yeah.
We'll get into that stuff. But yeah, I've never seen this movie before. I think I've seen clips with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's this movie. Well, I know it is now that I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said in the last couple episodes, X-Men's relatively new to me. Coming into this, I've only seen the first 2.
Wow.
So it's all going to be fresh for me.
Yeah. So big old blind spot for Jordan. And we're getting close to my X-Men blind spots, but we still have a couple more till I have not seen them.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the Wolverine, which I am excited to watch, and then I haven't seen any of the other X-Men movies except for First Class.
Oh wow!
But I've seen Logan and the 2 Deadpools.
Yeah.
Logan, I would imagine, will probably reign supreme. But X2, it's gonna be tough to beat for me. I love X2. That movie's great. But let's talk about who directed this and who made it. So the movie's directed by Gavin Hood, who has a bit of a rough filmography. He's got the also maligned movie Ender's Game.
Oh. Whoops.
A recent movie called Eye in the Sky, which I remember had Helen Mirren and Aaron Paul in it. Not Aaron Paul. Is that his name? Yeah, Aaron Paul.
From Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard that movie.
Same.
No one else did either. The screenplay is by David Benioff, who is one of the co-creators of Game of Thrones and also wrote Troy and City of Thieves. It's also a screenplay by Skip Woods, who wrote the awful Swordfish, also starring Hugh Jackman, the movie Hitman, the movie A-Team, and then a movie I've avoided, but apparently the very worst Die Hard movie, A Good Day to Die Hard.
Is that the one with Justin Long?
No, that is Live Free or Die Hard.
Okay.
This is the one that has Mr. Potato Head himself, Jai Courtney, is one of the stars of.
Oh, I think I
Die
ask
Hard.
you this every time it's been brought up. Every time.
And I always do my Mr. Potato Head joke. So you may be sensing a bit of a pattern here as we're getting into the production. The cinematography is by Donald McAlpine, who did Moulin Rouge, Ender's Game, and Mrs. Doubtfire, amongst many others. The music is by Harry Gregson Williams, who did Phone Booth, Man on Fire, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Chicken Run. So he's got some pretty solid hits in there.
Chicken Run.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that movie.
Sequel on Netflix next year.
Huh?
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Had not heard that.
Did they get Mel?
I don't believe they revisited Mel on the movie. One too many anti-Semitic comments.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Rightfully so. The movie comes out May 1st, 2009. It has a $150 million budget.
So that is way less than the last movie.
It is $60 million less than The Last Stand.
Wow. And I gotta say, because we're watching these movies so close together, it shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that the last movie looked like really good, and like partly it looked really good for the time period it came out in. It was 2006, 2008.
2006. Yeah.
2006. So partly it looked really good because I have hindsight, I guess, or I'm looking back on it.
Right.
But I also just thought it looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah. We mostly commented that the de-aging, which X-Men The Last Stand was the first movie to do it, and it looks pretty terrible in that.
Yeah.
But somehow the de-aging looks a lot worse in this movie.
Patrick Stewart looks so funny.
Oh, I can't believe it.
I mean,
so dirty.
He honestly looks like.
Oh man,
he looks like he is a video game.
It looked like he was wearing a mask of himself. It was not great.
Yeah, and well, we're not getting into the story yet. We're gonna get there. But the movie does make $179 million domestic and 373 worldwide. Now, I got a couple of wild things for you specifically, Jordan.
Great.
That are going to blow you away.
Okay.
Now, and I didn't know either one of these things because I haven't seen this movie that I'll mention at the end of this.
Okay.
But Cody Smith-McPhee
Yes.
was originally cast as young Logan at the beginning of the movie.
Aw, nuts.
But he turned it down to be in The Road.
Good choice.
Good choice. But he will be in the X-Men soonish.
Oh, I forgot he was an X-Men.
And
Who does
he plays
play?
our favorite guy, Nightcrawler.
No effing way.
Which I did not know.
What movie is he in? Which X-Men?
Apocalypse.
Oh my gosh. That movie's going to be so good.
Do you like that one? You said you liked that one.
Yeah.
Or no?
I do like it. I don't know. I feel like before watching this movie, Origins Wolverine, recently, and like kind of looking it up again, I at the time did not realize that apparently it was like people say that it sucks, because I don't think that it sucks. And I'm pretty sure that Apocalypse, people probably say that it sucks, but I don't think it sucks. I mean, Oscar Isaac, hello.
Whoa, he's in it too?
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
Whoa.
You have that to look forward to. Yeah, I like Apocalypse.
Man.
I think it slaps.
Cool.
So they bring Nightcrawler back. There's light at the end of this tunnel. For me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if Nightcrawler's in your movie, it can't be that bad.
It
So
truly can't. He is I've said it in X2, I'll say it again, best Marvel character ever.
Well, okay, I'll let you have that. I'll let you have that.
I just love him so much.
I love him. He's probably my favorite X-Men as well.
Yeah, I probably said favorite X-Men, not favorite Marvel character.
I mean, you know me. I'm a Spidey guy, but Nightcrawler rules.
Yeah.
So one of the writers of this movie, David Benioff, he had an R rating in mind while he was writing it. Of course, that didn't come through.
Yeah.
That'll come to fruition in 2 more Wolverine movies. And then if you remember, there were the 3 Blade movies, and Ryan Reynolds was one of the stars of Blade Trinity.
Yes.
And when they finished that movie, him and David S. Goyer, who was one of the writers, or the main writer, I'm not sure exactly, started working on a Deadpool movie.
Oh, wow.
In 2004/2005, which I did not know that they had been trying to make a Deadpool movie for, I guess that would make it 11 or 12 years.
You didn't know that?
No.
I knew. Micah, movie guy, didn't know that? I think I knew that.
Well, I thought that Ryan Reynolds was cast in Wolverine, played Deadpool, and then he was like, man, I want to do this again. I didn't know before this movie for 5 years they'd been trying to make a Deadpool
So how does
movie.
it make you feel about Channing Tatum and what you told me last night?
We're going to talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
Well, actually, let's talk about it now, because I don't know. Did you know, Kateri, that Channing Tatum for, I would guess, probably over a decade has attempted to make a Gambit movie, and it's just never come through.
Okay, now that you say that, that sounds like vaguely familiar to me. I did not remember it until you just said it. I would love that because I do love Channing Tatum. He's a very lovable, just big himbo,
he does
know.
Yeah.
And Gambit is awesome. So I wish that would happen. Would love for it to happen. Please, universe, hear my plea.
I don't really understand how it's that hard. Because I know it's hard, gosh, but
just make a movie.
I know. But Ryan Reynolds has worked for this for so long, and he got it, and it was a massive hit.
Yeah,
and Channing Tatum is a box office draw.
Yeah. Oh,
So
he's a movie star.
Let him make the movie.
Let him make the movie.
Now, before
maybe after this final Magic Mike comes out, they'll be like, Channing Tatum, you can make Gambit.
Let's give him some playing cards.
Well, you kind of hope because and again, I apologize if you know this information, but the MCU now owns the rights to X-Men, so they can, or Disney, I guess. So it's a question of just when they will introduce X-Men into the MCU. And you would hope that someone who has been trying to be a character for over a decade, that they would at least maybe just give him the role if they ever have him in a movie.
Maybe that's why, because everyone in Hollywood's been in a Marvel movie at this point, just about, and so maybe that he's been holding out. Maybe
he's been trying to make this movie.
Well, I'm saying maybe because it's Channing Tatum, maybe he's been approached for stuff.
Yeah,
I mean MCU's been around for a long time, and he's like, no man. I'm Gambit or no one.
I'm taking a big Gambit.
Yeah.
But so, and here's what Ryan Reynolds has to say about working on this movie. He says, it was a very frustrating experience. I was already attached to the Deadpool movie. We hadn't at that point written a script yet. Origins came along, and it was sort of like, play Deadpool in this movie or we'll get someone else to.
Oh, geez.
And I just said, I'll do it, but it's the wrong version. Deadpool isn't correct in it. Which, having seen those movies and read Deadpool comics, it's true. This is not... They're using the name Deadpool and basically nothing else.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about. Now, all of this was going on during the 2007-2008 writer strike, where Hollywood was like, they made some demands and stuff, and so no one was writing stuff, and people were not allowed to write stuff. So Reynolds had this to say. So we were in the middle of production. There were no writers, no anything. Every line I have in the movie, I just wrote myself, because in the script, we had it said, Wade Wilson shows up, talks really fast.
Oh, no.
I was like, what? What am I supposed to do with that?
Wow.
Wow.
So...
Does it give you a little bit of respect for Ryan Reynolds?
It does. It does. Well, I mean, I it's more his recent acting career that I'm not as fond of.
Yeah.
But I did like Spirited. He was charming and good in that. So he can turn around.
Wait, hold on a second.
What?
Gilmore got into the bread and is eating all the bread.
Oh, no.
No.
Hold on a second.
Wait. He just doesn't like get into food ever. So we just had this bread on the floor with like other grocery stuff. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, he won't get into it. That's not his style.
Wow. Proved you wrong.
And here we are. But, okay. So then another funny thing that I found out about this movie is they got permission to store stuff in an ice rink that they needed, and the ice rink wasn't doing well, so they thought, sure, yeah, store stuff here. But what they were storing in the ice rink, and they were, of course, paying the ice rink, what they were storing was explosives.
Did they tell them?
Well, so when they found out, city council like voted them out, and then I think they wound up storing something else there instead.
That's so strange.
I just thought that was very funny. The screenplay was incomplete when the shooting began.
Yeah.
I
would say for a movie that was, I don't know, that they worked on during a writer's strike, story-wise, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so to kind of say what I feel about this movie before we're even there yet is I was convinced last night we were going to watch it and it was just going to be like a steaming pile of crap because of everything I've heard about the movie over the past 15 years. And while I think that there are some very bad moments in this movie, I think when you look at how they tried to make this movie, I do kind of think it's like the best case scenario for the circumstances that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there is some stuff that's pretty fun in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like MCU movies that are big hits that I think are a lot worse than this. That I would watch this movie over probably like 6 or 7 of those movies, like just off the top of my head. So yeah. But yeah, so on set, like the director and Fox Studios, they were like, clashing over the portrayal of PTSD, and then Richard Donner had to come to the set, and who's the director of Superman, and I think Goonies, and
he was a producer on this movie.
Producer, he had to come in and like calm everybody down. So it's just
because they were like fighting about it.
Well, and I think he had to kind of oversee, like, yes, Fox, this movie is getting made, yes, you know, and kind of.
Yeah.
Bridge the gap. All this to say that, you know, it's not like the best set in the world. And then in March 31st, 2009, so 2 months before, this movie leaks online, and it's a DVD quality work print. And it's estimated that 15 million people downloaded it.
Whoa.
Wow.
So that hurts it.
Yeah.
That hurts the box office.
How does that happen?
I don't know. You would think that that'd have to be like a deliberate thing.
I know.
Yeah.
But there was no mention of like a lawsuit or anything like that. So
yeah.
Maybe like a friend is at your house and you're working on the movie and they see it and they upload it or something.
Why would you be working on it? But you know, it's just those questions happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, just a couple more here. There's 2 cases of adolescents injecting themselves with elemental mercury after having seen this movie, believing this would convert their bones to metal.
Oh my gosh.
Which is wild.
That's crazy.
And then finally, they were going to do like multiple Origins movies.
Yeah.
And the one they had planned after this was X-Men Origins Magneto.
Mm-hmm.
And Sheldon Turner, who was writing the movie, called it The Pianist Meets X-Men.
Okay. Interesting.
And then it gets canceled as they incorporate a lot of those ideas into X-Men First Class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember being so bummed because, like, just a series of, you know, randomly released origins of, like, any X-Men I would have been so into. I was, like, really excited about the whole concept when this one came out. Like, oh, awesome. Everyone's going to get their own movie. And that never happened.
So you had that feeling as well.
Oh yeah, I was so stoked.
Because
I
when
thought for sure this is going to happen. I'm 16 and I know everything.
Yeah. Because when I saw this, I thought, for some reason, I was convinced that like in a couple years we'd have X-Men Origins Cyclops, and then they would just go through like the main cast and do all of them.
Why
Again, not
not
realizing how difficult it is
Right.
to do all this stuff. But I was just convinced. It was as if someone had told me they were making all of these projects. So it actually felt validating to find out that they actually were attempting to make at least one.
Yeah.
Because I never actually knew
Makes
that.
sense, too, because this movie made money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think it also, it was not beloved. It didn't do well critically, and it didn't do it did okay, but it didn't do great.
Compared to the other movies.
Yeah, so I think that, and then they start working on a prequel to kind of reboot the series and stuff, and they're just
Okay.
like, nah,
So
let's
what's
kill this
the
idea.
next movie after this one?
It is X-Men First Class
Okay, and that's the one with James McAvoy
and Michael
Oh,
Fassbender.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
I didn't know, and I think I said this already, I didn't know they came so early in the... Well, I guess how many years between this movie and the next one, if you can just guess?
It's actually only 2 years,
Really?
which is wild. I thought that it was a longer time, but it's 2009 to 2011.
Oh, that's even more surprising to me.
So they really haven't slowed down making X-Men movies
Yeah.
since 2000.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. But that's what I got for the notes on how this movie was made. Hit me with those actors, Joj.
I just wanted to look up where Ryan Reynolds' career was at for him to get an opening credit. So
Yeah.
I just didn't know that he was that famous yet. But leading up to 2009, so he's in the Blade movie in 2004. He's in Amityville Horror, 2005. Also in 2005, he's in Just Friends.
Yeah.
Smokin' Aces. Definitely Maybe in 2008. That was a big movie. He's also in Adventureland in 2009. I know X-Men came out in 2009, but so he's in Adventureland as well, and The Proposal. For me,
Whoa.
Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds did not exist until The Proposal for me. Like, I did not know who this person was.
Well, and he was famous before that with Van Wilder, which I think was early 2000s.
Which is a show, right?
That's a movie.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that...
I just didn't know he was that well known that far back.
Yeah.
Prior to this movie.
You got to think, though, they did have to negotiate hard for the and.
Yeah, I would think so, too.
Because they were probably like... I guess it is a very and performance, though, because he does come back at the end, and he is the villain, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting and, though.
I mean, I could see...
He's like, I don't want to get a billing below Will.i.am. That's not acceptable.
The first thing I thought of is I wonder if Will.i.am, because he's a weird person, fought for an and. Because, I mean, Black Eyed Peas was big during
you
this
would
time.
think he would get the end. And then...
That's what I would
Yeah.
think. And then, I mean, the only person I can think of is Liev Schreiber, but I know he's, like, also leading in this movie.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Danny Huston plays Stryker. He, I feel like, is in a million things. Character actor.
Yeah.
He's also in The Constant Gardener, The Aviator, 21 Grams, The Proposition, and like I said, a million other things.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking during this movie, so he's playing the character that Brian Cox plays in X2, and I just thought how, I guess it was fun for me to imagine that they are now both in Succession, and they have scenes
So that guy
together.
is in Succession.
He is, yeah.
Okay, because he's in like
Whoa.
season 2 on the yacht, right?
Yeah, and I believe I think he's at the end of season
Oh.
1 as well.
Who is
Okay.
he in the show? I can't remember like what his character. Like he works, doesn't he? Like
Yeah.
work for the company.
Well, I was rewatching it, and the episode in season 1 that he was in, the first one he was in, Brian Cox was basically like, "Give it to me straight. What am I gonna do?" And he's kind of like, "Hey, it doesn't affect me, but you should do this. You should do
He
that."
like never
He,
said anything.
he might be his lawyer or something.
Or consultant or something.
Yeah,
Did you ever look at Nicholas Braun's?
I did
story?
look at his story.
It
Yeah,
was funny, right?
it was funny.
To tell readers, I just thought it was funny. They released the Renfield trailer yesterday, as of recording this.
Yeah,
Which is going to star Nicolas Cage as Dracula, and the poster, it's him standing over Nicholas Hoult, and then Nicholas Braun's next story was Tom from Succession standing over cousin Greg.
And it was like a promotional image
Wow.
from
For
Succession.
the next
That's
season of
good.
Succession. It was great. Anyway, Kevin Durand plays Fred Dukes,
Not to be confused with Kevin Durant.
the basketball star.
I did a second glance when his name popped up, and I was like, Kevin Durant? No, there's no way.
So
Nope.
just to butt in,
Yes.
just because I was also doing research on this because I'm trying to be a good guest.
Yes, love it.
I found out that David Harbour was like, he auditioned for the role of Dukes. And I was like, I didn't realize
Oh.
that he was like an actor then. I mean, I'm sure he was in lots of stuff. I just like did not know who he was until Stranger Things. But it's kind
Yeah.
of crazy to be like, whoa.
Yeah. That's cool. That he
yeah,
would've
I
been
didn't
good
know
in that
that.
too, doing that character.
Which
Yeah.
character was Duke again, though?
He's
He's
guy
the
with
like
he's
big
the fat
guy with the
Like that he-
tattoo
Oh,
of
the
the
blob.
lady.
Eating
The
problem.
blob.
yeah. Well, that's the character name, Jordan. So I'm not being facetious.
Wait, in the comics, he's a blob,
He's the blob.
but he's
yeah.
like really
Blob.
strong. That's his thing.
Yeah, I'm a little unclear what his thing
I'm a little
is.
unclear on a couple people's powers in
No,
this
yeah,
movie.
same.
Anyway,
And I love the movie.
he is in I Am Number 4, Robin Hood, the Russell
Which
Crowe
one?
movie.
Ah.
He's also in Wild Hogs.
Oh yeah.
I used
he
to
was
love
he
that
was
movie as a
the
kid.
that's who
what
I
I'm
recognize
remembering him from.
He was like the leader of the biker gang that's after them.
Oh.
And remember at the end they do the extreme makeover home edition
There's no
spoof?
way this movie's good, right?
No, there's absolutely no way.
I love that movie so much when
I
it came out.
we saw it in theaters because there were enough people telling my parents. They were like, "You have to see Wild Hogs."
Wow.
And we
Tim
saw it.
Allen's in this.
Yeah, and I did not like it when I saw it
That's
as a
right.
kid.
That's your thing. I forgot.
I did
about
like
that.
the end though because they spoofed Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and he starts crying, and he's like, "I can't believe they like fixed our bar or whatever it was that they destroyed in the movie." And I thought that was funny,
Yeah.
and that was kind of like my beginning and ending of what I thought was funny in that movie.
Sorry for you. And then Will I Am, like we previously said.
You don't have to give him the time of day. We know who this
Yeah,
guy
we all
is.
know who Will I Am is. And then Lynn Collins, Lynn Collins plays Kayla Silverfox. She is also in John Carter, as well
Okay.
as The
The
Merchant
number
of Venice.
23.
Number 23. That's what I recognize her from.
Is that the Jim Carrey movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She wears a pink
Plays a
wig.
saxophone.
Oh. And then she's also in Walking Dead. I think that's also what I'm recognizing her from. Well, no, because she's only in 2021 to 2022 season. So never mind.
Yeah.
And then and then Daniel Henney plays Agent Zero. He's in Big Hero 6. He plays Tadashi. I think that's the brother.
Oh, cool.
He's also in The Last Stand. He's in My Father. And a ton of other stuff. Some more Big Hero 6 voice acting stuff.
When you say The Last Stand, did you mean the Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Yes, I did.
and
Yeah, not an X-Men.
what's his name? Johnny Knoxville movie?
Yes.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have Taylor Kitsch, who plays Remy LeBeau, or Gambit.
And he ditches the Louisiana accent once they got to the island. Did you notice that?
I think it's soft.
But
It
he was
uses
hitting it
softness.
hard at
Yeah.
the gambling scene, and then they must have been doing like reshoots or something. And he's like I don't remember how to do this accent.
It's funny because I never saw John Carter. But watching this movie, I was like, oh, he must have been he's doing John
Oh,
Carter
John
right
Carter.
now because of his
Yeah.
hair. John Carter came out in 2012, so I'm wrong.
Oh,
But he is John Carter, a movie that famously did terribly, right?
yeah, but I've heard people defend it.
Really?
I've heard people
That's
say
good.
that it's actually really good.
Oh,
I don't
good.
know. Have you seen it, Kateri?
I have technically seen it, but I remember like nothing about it. So that I can't really say. I didn't love
Okay.
it, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't love it now. But
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
maybe I would hate it now. Who knows?
Sounds like we got a movie night ahead of us.
He's also in Battleship, Friday Night Lights, and a lot of other shows and movies. And that's about it for newcomers for us. We've covered Leave
We have?
and Scream.
That's right. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
He is a scream at the beginning. Well, not the bad guy Scream, but
What?
right? He's not one of the bad guys,
He's
right?
the guy who's convicted for killing Sydney's mom.
Oh wait, yeah. No, I was just
And he's in a
imagining
couple
him
of them.
in the beginning of the third movie. But yeah, he's in all of them. I forgot.
Well, not all of them, but yeah.
He's in the first 3.
He does not survive.
Yeah, whoops. But he has the radio show, right?
Yes.
In the third one? Okay.
Yeah, he begins profiting off of his being falsely incarcerated stuff. In a weird way.
Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we've done our Scream recap, which to listeners, we will be covering Scream 6 here pretty soon because by the time this comes out, I think we'll be like a month away from the new movie.
Wow.
Woo.
So excited.
Scream going to New York now. Let's go. So let's dive in, shall we?
Let's go.
The movie begins. It's Canada, 1865.
Yeah.
And we see...
Boy, was I lost from the very beginning.
Take it away. Take it away.
I'm just thinking, why is it 1865? Okay, this is Logan's ancestors. And then they're calling this little kid who's sick James. I forget the other kid's name. And then at some point, they're fighting with the dad, and the kid James has claws come out of him, just like Wolverine. And I was like, wow, did he inherit this?
I can't believe you didn't put it together by then.
Wow.
I had no idea that he is either immortal or ages very slowly. I had no idea.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen Logan, and I didn't know that.
You're a very smart watcher, but there's like little details about comic books in particular and like sci-fi that you like you it will just go right over your head.
Seriously, I think I'm thinking too hard or something. Honestly, probably when we started this movie though, it was at a time of night where I was like, let's start this movie so we can go to bed. So I was probably like, let's watch this movie fast. But by the time James and his brother were running through the forest, I had to make Micah pause it. And we're like 3 minutes in the movie. And I'm like, okay, wait.
What's going on?
Why do they call him James? Because that's Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember why, but I was like, Jordan, it's X-Men Origins Wolverine. We're going to find out.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Just press play.
But it was funny because at the beginning of the movie, they set it up like these are two separate guys that are not related, the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They do? Because
but it was funny because you were just like, you instinctively said they're brothers. So then later in the scene when Wolverine kills his dad, who he doesn't know is his dad, and he goes, I was your dad.
Which means that they're like Butler was his dad? Was he the butler or was he just a friend?
He seemed like he was just some dude who like came knocking on their door. So like some townsperson. It's not like super explained.
Yeah.
Like what?
And I just assume it's a butler.
In the wilderness of 1865 Canada. But I just thought it was funny because there's a moment that's like a little tiny reveal almost where you know the dad's like, you're my son, as Wolverine has killed him. And then you go, oh, they're brothers. And you were like, wait, what's going on? Because I thought they were brothers. I'm like, yes, they are brothers.
Why do they need to reveal this? So I thought this was interesting, that they're siblings and they both are mutants. And then later in the movie, Kayla's sister and her are also mutants. And I'm curious, what's the science behind that, Professor Xavier? Because
Kateri?
Being a mutant is not genetic, but I just find it interesting that siblings would be mutants.
It is.
Yeah,
well,
it is genetic,
it's a
and
gene.
there's like it's like prompted by periods of like high stress or trauma or whatever. So that's why like that's what prompts Wolverine's, because he sees who he thought was his dad like get murdered by the guy who actually is his dad, and that's when he like freaks out and his claws come out, and he's like, what's happening to me? And then he kills his real dad and finds out. It's a very traumatic time for everyone.
It is.
But yeah, I think it's just like, because like if you think back to the very first one with like Rogue and like puberty and like high stress, like I'm kissing a boy, it's just like I can't think of some other like non-X-Men parallel to drop, but it's just like it's kind of I think my understanding is like a latent thing that could be triggered if you like experience something that heightens your emotions in a really stressful way, be it positive, kissing a boy, or negative, seeing your supposed father killed by your real father.
Yeah, so it probably wouldn't surprise you that it didn't take until I think the last movie, the third movie, to where I realized, oh, the first time Rogue experienced her powers was when she kissed the boy. I just never considered it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think they explain too in the first or second movie that like
they
a
don't
baby
explicitly say it, but it's very implied because she's like freaking out, and everyone
but I
like
feel
is
like
freaking out.
There's just some exposition in the first two movies somewhere where probably Professor Xavier is saying something like, I mean, he didn't say this exactly, but like a baby is not born a mutant. Like you were just saying right there, it's like it's awakened within them, it's triggered. I think that is said, and I just another thing that went right over my head.
I mean, I would think the X-Men would be your jam, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're too.
I think they're too complicated.
Well, so then after this happens, they run out into the wilderness, and the brothers are kind of like, okay, we're always going to stick together.
Yeah.
And then we see a montage with the credits of the movie where it's Wolverine and Sabretooth as they are fighting in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, where Liev Schreiber starts committing war crimes, and then Wolverine's like, that's enough, and he's telling him to stop. And then they both get put on a firing line, and of course that doesn't kill them.
I love opening credits that give you so much backstory in like 3 minutes.
I miss it. I feel like rewatching this recently for this, I was like, wow, remember when credits were awesome like this?
Yes.
You just like got an opening of a movie and you just knew so much, and it's just so rich, and you're like, I'm in it.
Not only do you learn like all the wars they've been in, but you see Liev Schreiber's character change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he becomes hardened and like evil.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
awesome.
it is cool, and I can tell you as a freshman boy, this was really cool.
Yeah.
Because this is like freshman boy listening to System of a Down. Yeah, you're gonna love this. Like these action scenes are totally your jam.
Yeah.
But I was expecting to like cackle at this scene, and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool still.
No, I love it. It's awesome. I love that. So they're both mutants. They're brothers. One's Wolverine and one's Sabretooth. I like that they're both animalistic mutants.
Yeah.
It's sweet. I like seeing Liev run like that.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan of that. That's like when James McAvoy does that in Split.
Yes.
And Glass.
Oh man, I'm a sucker for that. And I like that he has fangs. Like ever so slightly.
Yeah.
He has fangs. It's great.
And he's got claws.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Claws are great too.
Then we had like Stryker creates this team of mutants that are gonna do things. Secret covert government operations.
Yes.
And this is where we're introduced to Deadpool.
Yep.
Played by Ryan Reynolds, of course. And he is telling a couple of jokes. I guess he probably had 1 or 2 takes to do that from his.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're like, improvise, go now.
Yeah.
And then we see a shocking image, which is Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah.
is in this group.
Crazy. I felt so happy for him. I just feel like he hasn't done well. He wasn't lost, so I mean the guys I don't think he's hurting for anything, but
yeah,
I just feel like he had that really terrible movie that like no one saw, like literally no one saw in theaters.
But that was in the teens. That's
I know
after this.
A long time. Oh yeah, I just in general for that person, it's just I feel like he's had a hard time in Hollywood, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, like again, he was in Lost and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Hey, he was
what more could
in.
You ask for?
I know. So maybe he's just content. I mean, he absolutely doesn't have to work another day in his life.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'd love. It would be interesting to hear his perspective. Like, not that actor would be necessarily like honest about how they feel about their career to the public.
Yeah.
But I am curious because it does seem like he just totally dropped off, and then he's in like 3 shots of Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
And it's like distracting because he has nothing to do in that movie. So when you see him, you're just like, huh?
That's right.
Why would you get so famous to be?
But for me,
part?
it's just so funny. Lord of the Rings, best movies of all time. I like the softest spot in my heart are filled with 4 hobbits.
Yeah.
So anytime I see their faces anywhere, and I've never seen Billy Boyd's face beyond Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But anywhere, oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. Just to see him doing anything.
Yeah.
And then we see Will.i.am. Did you ever look up his character?
I didn't.
I just want to know if he actually wears a cowboy hat.
Oh, do you happen to know what his character name is, Kateri, by any chance?
Not off the top of my head. No.
It just felt like, well, the John Wraith, but that's not the mutant.
John, how do you spell it?
Wraith.
John Wraith. Oh, he's got a cowboy hat, all right.
Oh, okay. It just felt like watching this movie. Like, I wonder if Will.i.am chose his costume.
I wish he did.
I know. So he does have a cowboy hat.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Oh yeah, he is cool.
Oh yeah, very cool.
I mean that's newer, so I don't know where that's from.
Maybe they based that off of Will.i.am. Inspiration. He's like, I'm gonna wear a cowboy hat.
Oh, I'm seeing old stuff. Yeah, I think he's always got a cowboy hat.
Cool. That's
right
cool.
on.
I am shocked to say this, and I really I'm putting my reputation on the line, but I don't think Will.i.am was bad in this movie.
No,
I agree.
Yeah, he was good.
I was fully excited to dunk on him, and I was watching it, and I was like, he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's actually really too many bad performances in the movie.
Oh, I don't think so.
I mean, Kateri obviously loves it, so
I do.
I'm trying to see what else, because we didn't really look into what he's in other than this movie, and he's really not in anything. But I just saw that he has a writing credit for The After Party and Righteous Gemstones.
Will.i.am?
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
Huh.
Okay, well,
might need to change our tune.
It might need to change our tune.
I might make fun of him so much.
Maybe stick to writing?
I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, so they do this this team of mutants does a big attack on this guy
in Nigeria.
Yep.
Are we in Nigeria?
Yes.
Compound.
Yeah.
And he has an adamantium rock from a meteor.
And they kill like 1 million people.
Yeah, and this showcases all their powers.
Like, this is just a souvenir. I don't care about this. So it kind of feels like, oh, maybe you could have just asked for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't think about that, but you are right.
A question I had about a mutant was Agent Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he can jump high.
And he can shoot
he's really good
fast.
at shooting.
Yeah, but how is that like a mutation?
Yeah, that's what I would like to know.
How do you mutate to be really good at guns?
At guns. Other than
well,
that,
probably probably if you looked him up on like Marvel Wikipedia or something, it would probably say something like he has like lightning speed reflexes and like
I think I did look it up
understanding.
sometime, and it is basically like that, but it is
Okay.
it just feels funny because there are like, I don't know, I feel like in other X-Men movies powers are more like explicitly explained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this, especially like their team, you're kind of like, wait, what can you do? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because with him, basically his powers were shown through an object, a gun, which to me translates like, is that a power? And then when we're introduced to Gambit, I was confused by what his power was. I mean, I know he was moving things, but Micah had to look it up for me because I just couldn't tell. I was like, does he need the playing cards?
Yeah.
Or does he need that stick?
The cane
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then his powers are cool. You looked it up and told me, but
no, it is. I think this movie does this not nearly as good as the other 3 X-Men movies, where it's like fire guy, boom, fire. He does it. You see weakness and strength, all of that.
yeah.
And then ice guy, like rogue, you can't touch her, sucking powers.
Well, I think it's easier to show them when they're elemental, like those guys.
Yeah.
Including like Storm.
Yeah.
But
like this movie is a little more like MCU-y, where sometimes you're like, oh, this person has purple beams, I guess. I don't know what that means, but they shoot purple beams.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And then Deadpool, like using all of them at the end is also strange. But,
yeah. What is Deadpool's mutation?
I think it's regeneration.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Because he can regenerate. I
mean, he's good at martial arts, but I think that's learned.
Yeah, I think he's just like a fit assassin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in shape, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like he's fit.
Yeah.
He's in shape. And I don't think he has like super strength or anything. But
Okay.
And in this movie, I don't think they show that really at all until well, I guess he's given. Well, I don't know what mutant power he has at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he does slice the bullet in half, and it's able to. I guess he has super speed, but again, it's like unclear, like we're saying with Agent Zero.
Yeah. This says his superpower is an accelerated healing factor that lets him survive almost any physical injury. That's a quick Google search.
Yeah. It's just strange because at the end of this movie, when Wolverine slices him and it heals, the look on Wolverine's face is like, oh my gosh, how are we going to beat him?
Yeah.
But if that's his mutation already, they would know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there were no writers because it was a writer strike. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so then they go to the village and they find more adamantium. But as they're doing it, they're going to like kill all these villagers.
They're going to kill a whole village over it.
And Wolverine's like, screw that. I'm not doing this. I'm going to go to Canada and fall in love. Very poetically.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he does that.
And you believe it because it's Lynn Collins and she's so beautiful. And you're like, yeah, I would move to Canada and fall in love with this woman.
It's so idyllic, their life.
It really
is.
is.
And he's straight up like lumberjack in it. He's going to work as a lumberjack. Yeah, I just said it.
You did.
And he's got like the axe on his shoulder and the flannel. And I mean, Hugh, is he looking good in this movie? No, he's looking great. We can all agree on that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But his hair is not that crazy because we've been tracking the hair.
His hair is very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Wolverine.
Hasn't gotten the iconic cut.
Yeah. But I imagine
origins.
that's because it's yep. Because you can see his hair is kind of pointy.
Barely.
So it's like, it'll get
just
there.
It's almost parted in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Do you remember in Logan, he has like a short haircut, right? He doesn't have the points.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's been a really long time since I've seen Logan. But yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, me too.
No, I don't think it's a buzz cut. But I think it's like a normal, like like a Tom Cruise latest Mission Impossible cut.
Yeah. Great reference. Latest Mission Impossible Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, because you can mark the different phases of Tom Cruise's hair by the Mission Impossible movies.
That is very true, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy on that one. Come on. So yeah, I wrote, and I think everyone's allowed to say this, but I wrote with a cutie Canuck in the Canadian Rockies 6 years later.
Yeah.
I think everyone's allowed to say Canuck, but I'll probably look it up just to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you said it while we were watching the movie, I was like, huh? Can you say that?
I think it's like endearing. That's my impression of that word.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I mean, if you want to do stereotypes, you can totally cut this, but Canadian are only nice people. So Canuck's probably a nice word.
Yeah. I don't think we have to cut that. I mean, that's a compliment.
Okay.
And then we go back, we cut to a carnival.
Yes.
Where Mary is working.
Yes.
I don't know what his character name was. I don't think they ever said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bradley?
Yeah.
What?
Right?
Chris Bradley.
Where's his name?
Bolt.
Okay.
A little on the nose.
It's just, so it's a superhero movie, not Bradley.
His mutant power is he can manipulate electricity.
Cool.
Yeah. And he works. I love the concept of a mutant, like down on his luck. Only job he can get is working at a carnival at a booth, and he just tricks people. I love that concept.
Yeah,
that was a very cool scene. With you give him $1 and you get to turn off this light, but you can't because it's him.
Right.
Great.
Although, I mean, now if we're being jokey here, I actually like this scene a lot, and I think it's good. But it is like, dude, you're not going to make any money if you keep just burning people's hands and then breaking the light bulbs.
Well, I think he was doing it to impress the girl and shame her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all played that game. So yeah. Uh, and so
we're in his trailer.
Yeah.
And he's having a nightcap. And who visits him but Sabretooth?
Yes.
And you get the impression that they have not been, their crew has not been together for a long time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But Sabretooth has some kind of like personal vendetta or goal. We don't really know. But he's searching for Bolt.
Uh-huh.
And I like the line that he gives him before he kills him, because Bolt's like, I'm not afraid to die. And Sabretooth says, how can you, like, why would you even say that? You haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I thought that was a good villain line.
That is.
Yeah.
And he's died so many times. So he knows
Yeah.
what it's like.
Yeah.
And then we cut to what I dubbed as green screen driving with his girl. The green
Do you think
screen.
any part of this movie was shot in Canada?
No, I don't think so.
I think most of wasn't it like in New Zealand or Australia or something?
Whoa.
There was definitely New Zealand because that's where they were storing the explosives
that's
in
right.
that ice rink. But yeah, the green screen in this movie is, I mean, it is like war crime status bad. It's pretty wild. Because
Yeah.
I mean, especially this Canadian stuff, I don't know if they stepped outside one time.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I think when they're in the forest, they were outside.
But there were even shots of that weren't.
Yeah, that's true.
Any of the close-ups. But, you know, it's 2009. And since it's 2009, that means we're going to tell a story about the moon and the Wolverine that falls in love with the moon, or the trickster god.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
To which Wolverine calls it, because it's like a native name, which I didn't write down, but he refers to it as Cuckoo Cachoo got screwed, which is very 2009.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. So how what's the temperature of the movie for each of you now as you're watching it? You get to this scene, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I'm like, wow, Wolverine is in love. Obviously, this sad story, you know, Wolverine, you know something terrible is going to happen, but you just hope it won't because you just love Wolverine and he's happy. Yeah. Although I think at this point, is it before or after she tells the story? Like Stryker comes and sees him like on the job and is like, hey, people are getting hunted down or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So there's like that kind of warning. And obviously we just saw his brother kill Bradley. But
right.
I don't know. I'm in it.
Yeah.
You're in it. Yeah.
I said this when we were watching the movie. This is something I've always had a hard time with, but I always have a hard time in prequel movies, like origin stories, where the main character has a love interest who's not the person that, I know him to love Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although it's like unrequited love, but like, it's just like a weird thing to me. Weird personally. It's not weird in the movie, but I always have a hard time being like, but he couldn't love anyone else.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, I don't know, like if my parents ever got divorced and they started dating other people, and it's just like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't. You only have to love each other. I think that's like, it just stems from some like child feeling I have.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to see him with another woman.
Well, but I do get what you're saying. I think for someone who lives like eternally, basically, I think it totally makes sense to give him a romantic interest.
Yeah, no,
but I'm sure if we really thought about it, there's definitely some movies where it's like, why are you even bringing up this person in this movie, because we know it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like in the Hobbit movies, there's that weird love triangle with
Evangeline.
The dwarf and Legolas, and it's like, well, she's not going to go with Legolas, so there's no tension for me.
Right.
She's going to go with this dwarf guy.
Right. And for this movie, although I felt that way, there's a purpose for everything. I mean, one, he just fell in love for one. But she served a purpose beyond their relationship.
Yeah.
And I think if it was just like he had this love interest and she just died, and that is the only reason that spurned him into like doing what he does next,
Yeah.
I would feel like this feels like a 2009 movie where our female character is just supposed
just
to
a
love
plot
our main
device.
character and then die.
Right.
Yeah.
But she had more to do.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah. So I guess so far we're pretty much tracking.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that's funny is, again, I don't necessarily like this movie. I don't know if I'm going to go that far with it, but it is funny because I've read enough comics to know that this, like, a lot of the problems I have with the movie are like things that comic books do.
Okay.
So, like, for example, I know this is skipping ahead, but all of the Scott Summers stuff I think is totally silly and shouldn't be in this movie. And then having Charles Xavier like show up at the end is just like so cheap. But I've read so many comics where they do that.
They just pack characters in.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, this character actually knew this, and they actually did this, and oh, we're gonna shoot him with a memory bullet, and you're like, really? That's so dumb, but like that's what they do in comics all the time because they've been around since before the 60s, but like these characters are in the 60s, they're writing monthly stories. You know, so it's like, okay, someone's got to get their memory wiped again. And
totally.
And you just kind of like accept it, and you're like, okay, there'll be a new writer, and maybe there'll be new stories, and I can kind of forget that like Spider-Man had amnesia for 2 years of his life or something stupid like that.
Right. Right.
So in that regard, it's actually kind of funny watching this movie because it does read kind of like a bad run of comics where it's like, yeah, I could see this being an actual run, and I would probably read it and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah.
So it's funny that people really, really don't like this movie because I don't know. I just don't. I kind of don't think it's that bad.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
of course I'm talking to the choir here, but
yeah. I think for me it comes down to I just have no nostalgia for it.
yeah.
And I know I've already said that for the first 3 movies, although I've liked them.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes hard to cover movies when you know so many people grew up loving them so much, and then it's like it was good. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, this one's kind of bad, but but okay. So Sabretooth tracks down
Wolverine
and Wolverine's girl, and he kills the girl.
Yeah.
And then we have what I wrote as barn fight, log pile with an exclamation point, and breaks bones off, which is the next sequence.
Yeah. So Sabretooth is in this bar, and I thought it was just so funny that he asks the bartender if he has insurance, and the guy says no. And he's like, well, that sucks for you. And they're just literally, this bar is in a barn.
Yeah.
Like there's probably a sign out up front that says the barn.
And they're also in Canada, and he has a southern accent.
That was my other thing that I thought was so funny. The bartender had a southern accent.
Yeah.
Maybe he's from Texas or the South or something. But because it was Canada, I just thought it was such a funny choice.
Not bad, but funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, yeah, Sabretooth and Wolverine get in a big fight. And there's there's kind of a little joke I have when I watch movies, and when a really bad special effect is shown, I'll just say oops. And when those logs came down and crushed Wolverine, I said oops. That was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him getting thrown over the logs too, the truck.
Yeah. It was pretty smudgy, to say the least.
Yeah. But when Sabretooth stepped on his claws,
Yeah.
that hurt to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I agree with that.
Yuck.
Now, do you think, I know that Wolverine will now wake up in a hospital, but do you think that his bones broke, but they would just heal, right? I mean, it would hurt like heck, but
Right.
he would be able to still like regrow them, like right when he wakes up.
Your
or whatever.
body, you're like when you break your bones, like that's what your body is doing.
Yeah.
It's bringing it back. I mean, that's the cast is to make sure it does it correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's doing.
Okay. So he'd be he would have been fine. But he gets taken to Stryker's hospital.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Yes. And
Wait.
this is when we have like the moment where they're gonna give him give him surgery.
Yeah.
He signs his life away.
Yeah.
He gets a dog tag that says Wolverine on it.
Yeah, he says, I want new ones.
Logan Wolverine.
Yep.
And now we know the name Logan. And I was kind of like, Jordan, tapping you on the shoulder. See, they explained it. And then they start squirting in the metal.
Ew.
And this is pretty like iconic. I feel like anytime you'd see commercials for X-Men stuff or whatever, they would always use the shot of him
bursting out of the.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and I mean
I remember that.
He was looking great.
Yeah. He's naked.
He is naked.
He's naked.
We were seeing that it was PG-13 for partial nudity was one of the reasons, and we were
see
like,
his little butt.
"Ooh, whose butt are we gonna see?"
I hope it's Hugh's, and that's what we got. But yeah, while it's happened, so I thought this was a pretty cool scene. He gets the adamantium, and then
I think this is your favorite one, isn't it, Jordan?
This movie?
Yeah.
No. But he dies. Well, his heart stops. So it's like, oh my gosh, the procedure didn't work.
Yeah.
But then his heart starts beating again, and it worked. And Stryker says, "Oh, it worked. Change of plans. Erase his memory."
Yeah. And he hears that,
and that's
why he bursts out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, having not seen the movie and knowing that whenever he got adamantium, that's when his memory was wiped.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, oh, this doesn't happen now.
Yeah.
Because we have half the movie left.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sort of funny. I don't know who like originally wrote the idea that the adamantium is not his mutant ability. But it's sort of a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
So he's already got regenerative powers and he's got claws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoever that writer was, and I'm sure it's a great run, but they were just like, hey, let's explain the metal. Why does he have metal? And I think everyone reading it up to that point probably just assumed he just has metal bones.
Right.
That's like his power.
Yeah.
That's all. That's
no, I
that's
think
all
it's
I'm saying.
cool. It's pretty sweet.
It's just kind of strange.
What okay. So this is moving far ahead, but Stryker is performing experiments on all of these mutants. Oh, Gilmer is messing with my mic. But Stryker's performing experiments on all these mutants, and that's why Wolverine, he was an experiment.
Yeah.
And then later we see more experiment stuff happening, and Cyclops was an experiment.
Yeah.
Do we know what happened to him? Or is that what they were saying? Like they're just taking some powers out of all of them?
I think they for Cyclops, just took his power. And
okay,
that's why Weapon 11 or Deadpool, like at the end, has the like beams. I don't even know. Are they laser beams? Energy beams? What do you call them? Plasma?
Yeah, I would think that. What did you say?
Plasma? I don't know.
Plasma? Yeah, what are they called?
Wow, so much Googling.
What are Cyclops' eye beams called? I know he has a ruby quartz visor. We all know that.
What does that mean?
That's what protects them from blasting off. It's
that's like the
ruby
material.
quartz visor, of course.
Okay.
Abilities, optic blasts. That's what they're called.
Optic blasts.
Yeah, but optic, does that say
blasts
what it is,
of
though?
What?
Yeah, because optic's your eye.
Okay.
That means blasting from the eye.
He emits beams of energy from his eyes, described as optic blasts, which have the appearance of red light and deliver massive concussive force. His cells constantly absorb solar energy. Oh, interesting.
Oh,
and he
cool.
can use some of the energy to create an opening to another universe in front of his eyes. The beams fire from these openings.
And they just killed him in the third movie without even giving him a death scene.
Yeah.
They just threw him away.
And get this, the beams cause no recoil or heat, are tremendously powerful, and can be used to rupture steel plates and pulverize rock, or even punch a hole through a mountain.
Punch a hole through a mountain.
Yeah. Okay, he's cooler than I thought he was.
Yeah, I mean he's so awesome. They kind of
I've mostly just thought that his character is sad.
they do him dirty in the movies.
Kind of
Yeah.
like a little whiny baby in the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Is he better when Ty Sheridan plays him?
I don't know. Despite his, I don't know, like mopiness and stay away from my woman personality in the trilogies, I like James Marsden. Like, I think he does a good
Yeah.
Oh,
job.
yeah.
So I probably still prefer James Marsden's Cyclops.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
I think that he's great as Cyclops, but it's like one of those things where when I started reading X-Men comics, it's like, whoa, Cyclops is so cool. And then rewatching the movies now, I'm like, oh, they really don't take advantage of it to what they could.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because he's complicated and interesting, but anyway, reading 100 issues and watching an hour-and-a-half movie, that you're gonna have different experiences,
That's true.
and that's okay. So Wolverine jumps out. He jumps off of I guess it'd be a dam, because we find out later it's by that dam.
Yeah. It kind of just
Yeah.
looks like a big waterfall, though, in the movie.
Mhm.
Like, it looks more.
I guess it is just a waterfall. You're
Natural.
right. Maybe
Right.
they dam up the waterfall earlier.
Oh wait, you're saying? Oh yeah,
he's
they
escaping
come back to this
after.
in X2,
Yeah.
right?
Anyway, and then he goes to, I'm just going to assume it's Pa and Ma Clark. Or Kent, I mean.
Yeah.
Because this is
Superman's
like, we have
parents.
like a Superman story going on here where he runs naked into this barn. And the grandma and grandpa are kind of funny.
Yeah.
They're cute.
They're very cute. I love them. They're like, I think
And-
there's a naked man in the barn.
Let's not call the police. Let's give him a blanket.
Yeah.
They're very kind souls,
Yeah.
And so they care for him, and he's hiding away,
Mhm.
and he goes into their bathroom, and then we have
The worst effects. I couldn't
I
believe
mean-
it when I rewatched it. I was like,
it's crazy.
how did that make it through? I don't know. It looks so cheap. It's so
It
bad.
really does. And I just don't think they looked that bad in the other movies
Yeah.
up until this point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
How did it
man,
happen?
they looked bad.
I mean, I think like if you were putting together like a list of worst effects used in like that decade, I think most people would probably include that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
hmm
And of course it'd be amazing if it was like the 90s, but for late 2000s, I mean, we've had Davy Jones. Or yeah, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
at this point.
We've
Yeah.
had Davy Jones,
And
man.
he still looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in the bathroom and he pulls out his adamantium claws, and there is like, I can only describe it as a judder, like at the base of where his hands are, because it's like the effect is moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just so flat and like I can't believe it.
They are so flat. Totally. But it also feels like maybe I feel like the budget's not as big as the other ones, so that's part of it.
But this is such a moment, don't you
No,
think?
no,
that,
it is, but
like,
he's in this. So it's also 2009, and he's in a very brightly lit bathroom. And I
Sure.
feel like the FX artists just couldn't figure out the lighting because it was so bright in there.
Mm.
yeah,
I feel like sometimes when like you have more, I don't know, ways to do it if you can use more shadows. But I mean, there was not a shadow in that scene.
right. Yeah, it just seems like such a, we're gonna put this shot in the trailer. Like this is the first time he's seeing him. Maybe we can, have some bad effects like with the logs or whatever, which stink. But it's like, that's just one little thing in a dark action scene. Who cares?
Yeah.
But this is like your money shot. It looks so bad. And again, it's one of those things that, hearing people talk about this movie, they always mention that part. And I don't remember them looking bad, of course.
Yeah.
And so when we're getting ready to watch it, I'm like, okay, so far this movie hasn't been quite as bad as I was expecting. So is this part really going to be as bad? And I'm like, oh, it's so much worse than people described it to me.
That's funny.
And then we have the big helicopter chase.
Well, Mom and Pa die.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was surprising.
that was surprising.
I guess I wasn't expecting it.
I wasn't either. I forgot.
Yeah.
but they get shot
Yeah.
I guess
by Agent Zero.
Agent Zero, I know he was using a sniper, but he probably has really good eyesight too. Because he was far
that's
away.
a good point.
Yeah, that's true. Agent Zero has super optics. They open up another portal. Are you looking up his
Well, we've talked about it so much.
You want to tell me your highlights from this while she's looking? The helicopter chase sequence?
I mean,
Or how you thought of it this time?
I loved it. I'm sure that there are better action sequences, but I was in it along for the ride. When he like is on the motorcycle, uses his claws to like whip around because he can do that now. They're metal, they're not bone, they won't break off, and like all that
is a
whipping
cool
around. Moment. And I mean, just like the shot where he's like flying through the air towards the helicopter, you just, I don't know, you're like, wow, he can do that. He just shears off the blades, and you're like, this rocks.
It does feel like they did spend more moments on this action sequence effects wise, because it was fairly engaging. Like
it looked good.
And I think like anything that looked kind of cheesy or fake in this sequence, kind of I would put more in the category of stylized, whether they meant that or not.
Okay.
Like it just felt like stylized comic book action.
Yeah.
So yeah, the helicopter crash and chase is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hit us with those Agent Zero powers.
So he has kinetic energy absorption. So he can absorb kinetic energy to further increase physical performance. So he is also able to fall from great heights, sustaining little injury. Zero's agility, balance, and bodily coordination were enhanced to levels that were beyond the human. Oh, so I think this was added, like the experimentation. So his agility, balance, and bodily coordination were enhanced to levels that were beyond the natural physical limits of even the finest human athlete. His reflexes were enhanced to levels unobtainable by normal human beings. So the reflex thing with the guns.
Yeah.
To which he is shown able to gun down multiple enemies before they can even realize he fired.
Oh, so this is like specifically movie. You're not looking at
he also
a comic
has
book
no
character.
Making it difficult for Wolverine to sense him.
They should have dedicated
That's
30 minutes of this movie to his scent.
So that's Agent Zero.
That's got to come in handy when you're going on a first date.
Yeah. Like what? He doesn't shower ever?
No, having no scent. So when you're sweating and you're so nervous, they don't smell you.
Man.
No comedy points? No nothing for that?
I don't know.
I think I just
for him.
wasn't smart enough to get there fast enough to laugh, Micah.
Well, maybe the joke was just that stupid.
But does no scent, I mean, like, if he put cologne on, would his power like override that? Or do you think he can smell, or he just can't? Or is it just that he has no smell of his own, but he can apply store-bought smells?
I guess I'm assuming he has, like, his body doesn't produce a scent.
But, because, like, you know, not to get too personal here on this episode, but I use this soap called Grandpa's Pine Tar Soap, and it has a smoky smell to it.
Yeah.
And since then, I think I have a pinch of a smoky smell to me now, and that's now a part of my scent. And that's something that I apply to myself. So is it possible that he just doesn't even get scent either?
Oh, wait.
Like if he owns a dog, does he ever smell like a dog?
Interesting.
I'm guessing he doesn't.
Yeah,
That is
that's a good
interesting.
point.
Because then Wolverine could be like, oh my gosh, he smells like that Labrador that was at his house.
Or maybe he would just think of a Labrador. Like a Labrador was nearby.
Yeah, but he probably knows the distinct scents.
I don't know. This is getting boring. This is getting, like, in the weeds.
I'm just saying, I think that not only does he not have a scent, but he may in fact have an anti-scent.
I think I agree with
So-
you.
Okay.
That sounds right to me.
Great. Let's go with that.
It's interesting
man.
what you said about him, like, being able to survive falls from great height or whatever. So the helicopter crashes. He's still, like, alive, but obviously not in great shape. And Stryker's like on the radio, and then Wolverine
Yeah.
gets on and is like, I'm going to kill you. But yeah, I guess, I mean, obviously the pilot of the helicopter is dead. Zero is not yet dead. So that, I guess that's an explanation for why. But then he makes a rude remark to Wolverine, and Wolverine blows him up.
Really should have kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
At Zero.
What did he say?
Something like, funny how good, innocent people like die around you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
And then Wolverine just walks away, strikes his
goes,
new
"That's
metal
not funny."
claws on the ground to create a spark with all the spilled gasoline, and boom, huge explosion behind him. He's still walking away, cool as a cucumber. Very
Courtesy
cool.
of the New Zealand ice rink.
Awesome.
Then I think in the next scene, it's pretty funny because you pointed this out. It's just a funny, I mean, this has got to be a writer's strike thing. Stryker is talking to this guy, and this guy's like, Wolverine's out of control. Luckily, the only way you can kill him is an adamantium bullet. And then at the end of the movie, he's getting the gun, and he's like, it's not going to kill him, but it will make him lose his memory. And you're like, huh?
Yeah.
I
So
thought
it
it would
doesn't
kill
kill
him.
Yeah, that's a writer's strike thing for sure.
They just completely changed what they established already.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So,
Does he go to Will I Am next?
well, then Scott Summers is in class,
Yeah.
and he's wearing glasses.
Burp.
I think I did. But also Gilmore made a sound
sorry
too.
for calling it out.
But
That was a
hey, everybody. Scott Summers is in class. He's wearing red glasses. I mean, they must be laced with ruby quartz. Otherwise, they'd be shooting his energy beams
Where'd he
everywhere.
get them? I would love
exactly.
to
Some
know
high
that.
school student. And yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like how the teacher, I mean, I think it's just a movie thing. Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily bad writing, but it's just funny that the teacher's like, you must take off your glasses for the like 5 people in the theater who don't know who it is and need to be
Sure.
reminded.
Sure.
The teacher has to be like, you need to take those off. And he's like, I won't take them off. And then those 5 people are like, oh, that must be Cyclops. And
teacher
everyone
says,
else
"Well,
is
you
like,
bet
we already
we'll
knew that.
Enjoy wearing those sunglasses in detention.
Yeah.
He gets detention for wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can still see his eyes. Like, let him be a little bit. Jeez Louise. And then he gets attacked by Sabretooth
Yep.
And abducted.
and abducted. And so yes, I think I already mentioned this, but I don't think that Cyclops should be included in this movie. I think it's just kind of like we want to. It's the classic thing that many comic book movies do, where they're like, "Hey, look at this character that you know about," and you're like, "Yeah, but I don't see why they're in this movie."
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange that, I mean, does he even lose his memory? And then he like doesn't know who rescued him and
Well, he
stuff
never
when
saw
he
Wolverine.
Yeah. Once he's in
Like,
the
he was
he has
blindfolded.
to-
Yeah,
whatever.
but it's like he never asked Charles Xavier about it, or you know what I mean? It opens up this like bag
Charles
of like
Xavier never saw Wolverine either. And Wolverine
Well,
lost his memory.
Yeah.
And he wasn't
Yeah,
with them when Professor X showed up.
I just
know-
don't think
I know-
he should be in this movie.
I know, and I agree with you, but with how the movie is set up, I think it's okay in terms of that
Mhm.
specific logic to it.
Yeah.
I
It is.
guess I'm
I
wrong.
feel like the
I'm
only
not saying you're
purpose
wrong.
it serves is like showing Sabretooth like doing the will of Stryker and gathering mutants. But even then it kind of feels inconsistent because like he kills Bradley and takes his power, but then there's some who he'll like not kill and just bring the whole person.
Yeah.
Like, so that
Yeah.
logic is never explained. And yeah, does it have to be this already known character that doesn't really like serve a real purpose? I don't know.
Yeah. Or could it
like-
just be another mutant that
Right.
we've never seen before and it'd be cool?
I feel like it would have made more sense to make it the Diamond Sister.
Yeah. That does make sense. Well, it wouldn't make sense actually because that's the whole reason
They would have
Kayla
already
was
had to
with
have
him.
her.
Yeah, they already had to have her.
Oh, that's right. I'm just forgetting that detail.
Yeah.
Okay, so egg on my face. I guess I'm not as smart as the writer's strike. That's what I'm learning. But yeah, it was just kind of funny that like knowing that this was written or that they worked on this during the writer's strike and all this stuff, I was expecting there to be at least one plot moment that was like, oh, that is like such an insane plot hole.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like what we're talking about with Scott where it's like, well, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but it's certainly not a plot hole because you guys just pointed out like it's actually covered and it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just almost like I just prefer that they didn't do that.
I would prefer it not to be him too.
Yeah. But it's just funny that like the movie doesn't really have a lot of those issues actually.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of that I caught was the bullet.
Yeah.
How they just change it at the end.
Right.
Which is pretty big, but I think they just assumed people weren't gonna. I don't know. That's probably just a rewrite. They probably got to the end and they were like, "Crap, he has his memory. What are we gonna do?"
Yeah. But then we go to Will.i.am.
Yeah, Logan meets with Black Eyed Peas is what I wrote.
Great.
Tone shift.
Yeah.
So he goes to him because he thinks that he thinks that he knows where Sabretooth is.
Yeah.
And then also the Blob is there, and he finds out about some island.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they find out
actually, they find out about Gambit.
Yeah,
Well,
because
that's
Gambit is the
will tell
only
them
one.
about the
He's
island.
like is the only one who's escaped from the island. So like he knows where it is. He can take you there.
Yes. That's what it is.
But he says, "Hey, fat, Fred," which I got to admit, that got me.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
And then he fights Blob, which at first I was like, man, Blob looks really good. And then when he started moving, I was like, oh, he looks really bad. But at first I thought it was all like practical. It like tricked me.
Not.
But then when he started moving, the his boobs were swaying in a way that didn't make sense.
He probably was just in a sumo suit, and then they just put stuff over him.
Yeah. But let's put the Blob in another X-Men movie. He's fun.
Okay.
I mean, do you like the Blob, Kateri?
I mean, yeah. The actor who I know that you mentioned at the beginning, someone Durand, maybe?
Kevin Durand?
I like his voice and his mannerisms as the Blob, I think are really fun. I had not known like I mentioned before, I have not read the comics. So there's lots of X-Men that I like don't know, but the Blob is fun. I would watch a movie with the Blob in it again.
Yeah. Now, if you would you ever read the comics in any way?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Or do you have any interest in reading them?
Absolutely, I do. When I was like a teenager, when in like the height of my X-Men obsession, I kind of tried, but was very confused by, I don't know, like I just don't understand general comics publishing, I think. Because, I mean, I worked at a comic store, like bookstore, video game store, everything. Like they had comics, and I just didn't understand, like, how do you get a complete story? Because I'd be like, oh, here's a Gambit comic. It's number 4. How do I get the other ones? I don't know. So I think probably what I need to do now at this point, I know that they'll like collect them in volumes and things are probably easier to find online now, like just getting a full story. I would love to read some X-Men comic. Yeah. I just have not yet.
There's some good ones out there.
I believe it.
The thing I would say to, I heard this from someone else, my favorite YouTuber, Patrick Willems, suggested it, is for anyone trying to get into comics, for the listeners as well, a great way to start is like picking a writer and just starting where they started.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because very often, the writer will do kind of a soft reset.
Oh.
And it's just really helpful because, hey, I went through it and I loved it. I read every issue of Amazing Spider-Man. But there are definite, like, pretty much any time a new writer starts, it's kind of like, there usually is kind of a reset. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, you can go in and, you're going to have stuff that you're going to be confused about. But like with X-Men, I read a large portion of Chris Claremont's run, and he started, I think, like X-Men 100 or something like that. And I did not read the previous 100, but what he did is he started it with a new group of X-Men for the most part. So he like introduced Storm, Nightcrawler,
Cool.
and a couple others, and then it was like, here's this team, and then some of the old characters you still know.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
for anyone who's interested, that's a good way to do it for long-running comics. You know, comics like Watchmen, you can just read the entire series because it's just 10 issues or whatever.
That's like I mean, it is a comic, but I see that more as like a graphic novel.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
You're correct. That's what they classify it as.
Oh, okay. Because there's like a definitive beginning and end, basically. Yeah.
And there are like spin-offs and stuff, but haven't heard anyone say that they're good. And,
okay.
And also, it doesn't feel like it needs that. So to me, I'm fine with the 10 issues or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's very daunting.
Yeah.
You know, when you go, they started this in the 60s, like this X-Men are from like 1965 or something like that. Like, how do I start?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
The Blob.
for those who are interested, the Blob. He's cool, and Wolverine says, he says something like, "See you around, bub," and then he's like, "Did you call me Blob?" And he goes, "No, I called him Bub," and he attacks him again, or maybe that was before the attack. That was before, and then they fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabretooth gets Scott. Okay, now we're at Gambit in New Orleans.
Yep.
And here's one thing I will say, and I'll go on record and say I love this about the movie. Hour 44. Come on.
I do love me some of that.
Mercifully short.
Movie.
Come on.
All of them so far have been so short. And it's just been a breath of fresh air.
The longest one was like 2:15.
Which one?
X2.
It was?
But it was like, it was totally earned, and you didn't even know it was over 2.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's that good.
It is so good. I mean, that Nightcrawler scene, I can't get over that first scene in that movie. It's so good. But yeah, so they meet Gambit, played by Taylor Kitsch.
Yep.
I don't think I like him as an actor. I have yet to enjoy a performance of his.
I think I'm in the same boat. I haven't seen him in a lot.
I still want to try John Carpenter someday, but he's a little tough for me. What are your thoughts on Taylor Kitsch?
John Carter?
That's what I said.
You said John Carpenter?
Or no,
Yeah.
that
we knew what you meant, but you did say John Carpenter.
Even just now, I meant to say, "Oh, I didn't mean to say that. It doesn't matter. You're right. You're right. Yeah,
fine.
John
Carter. John
I almost said Carpenter again.
I have no strong thoughts about Taylor Kitsch. I was not like super enthralled by his portrayal of Gambit, but that was, since I have not read the comics, like my first real introduction to Gambit. And like, even though Taylor Kitsch wasn't very captivating, like as himself or whatever, he wasn't so bad that it like overpowered the coolness of Gambit. Because once I saw Gambit, I was like, oh, this is a cool X-Men. Like, even though I know nothing, like Gambit rocks.
Yeah.
So, for whatever that's worth.
Jordan screamed when he started fighting, because he finds out about the island, and then he starts throwing these playing cards, and they're like exploding.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh! I was
and Jordan
so
said,
lost.
"His power is playing cards." You were so upset.
I was, because I just could. But that's like we've talked about to death in this movie. It's like their powers can't be inanimate objects, but I'm like fooled every time when they use one. That's like doesn't work.
Yeah.
But so as this fight scene's happening and stuff, I'm like, what is this? Is he just a magician? Like what is he? I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was just so funny seeing the difference of my own mind from a freshman to now, where when I was a freshman, I was like, oh, guy in a purple suit throwing playing cards. Okay, I'm in. I get it. And now I'm watching
you didn't need more.
Yeah, I didn't need more.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. His power is playing cards. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, and his cane makes him flip. Okay, great. Like, and I'm like, this guy's cool. And then I'm watching it this time, and I'm like, what's going on here? What is this?
But
Just playing cards?
Then you did look it up, and his power is he can give kinetic energy to inanimate objects and make them explode.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool power.
Yeah, that is a cool power. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could only see one person playing this role.
Mr.
Channing
Channing Tatum. I would love that.
Me too.
I'm dying.
Yeah, you are, man. It's okay. They fight. They go out to an alley, and Sabretooth shows up. So then Logan starts fighting Sabretooth.
Because Sabretooth kills Will.i.am.
Oh, right. That looked like a terrible death.
Yeah.
It did.
I don't want to go out
Grabs
that
his
way.
spine.
Yeah.
I do like that moment, and he goes, I want to tell you something. And then he reaches out and grabs him where he teleports to, and he goes, "You're predictable."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has some great lines. Like
He does.
Yeah.
And then even like grabbing the spine and being like, "That's funny. I didn't know you had one."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Just
I mean,
great
when is
classic
Liev
cheesy
Schreiber
stuff.
ever bad?
He is good.
He's
always good.
national treasure to whichever country he's from. I'm assuming America, but I really don't know.
He's American,
Is he? Okay.
right?
I don't know.
He just strikes me as someone who we look up and we're like, whoa, he's got the best American accent in the world. Probably like Philadelphia.
He was born in San Francisco.
That's as American as it gets.
He has I bet he narrates audiobooks, but I need to look that up because I feel like he would be a great narrator.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He probably narrates like some James Patterson, but
I hope he would do some classics,
Yeah.
But so there's also another pretty crazy moment where I said oops. And that is when Gambit is trying to climb the fire escape. And Wolverine is like super speed tracking.
It was a long shot too.
And it cut back to it.
I know.
Oof. Big oops on that one.
Yeah, that was not great.
It is goofy.
Then we find out Stryker froze his son.
Yeah. So do you think that is before or after he sent his son to Professor X?
I think after, because they mentioned that his son killed his wife.
That's true.
Or,
right.
I mean, that caused his wife to kill herself.
Yeah.
I can't remember the specifics. Do you remember the specifics?
Well, he said in the movie he killed his wife.
Yeah. I think he at least in X2, I think
he drove her crazy.
So like she
Literally.
killed herself, but
yeah.
because of him. So essentially like he killed her.
Yeah, he was in her mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have one of the dumbest things a movie could do, to me. You have Deadpool, the character Deadpool. They call him the Merc with a mouth. He runs his mouth. That's his thing. And they sew his mouth shut. That is one of the stupidest things that you could do.
Doesn't he doesn't he mention something about that in Deadpool?
It does make some great jokes in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because he can reference stuff, which fits the format very well.
Yeah.
But my goodness, it's just fun. At the time watching this, I didn't know who Deadpool was at all, so I just went with it. But you watching it now, it's like, it's like if Spider-Man was in the movie and they were like, "Hey, we plugged up your web, and you could never use webs again or crawl on walls." You're like, huh?
So did they do it? Did Stryker do it though because he actually was so annoyed by him?
I think so, because Wolverine says they finally found a way to shut you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also don't think he was around long enough for it to settle into us that he's that annoying that you would want to show his mouth
I
shut.
just know that because Deadpool is out now. Like, I've seen it by this point.
Yeah, it's like in hindsight.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the
I don't
beginning,
know.
Stryker does say something, like, I think when they're, like, at the compound in Nigeria, he's like, "You would be the perfect soldier if it wasn't for that mouth on you," or something
He
like
does
that.
say
So
that.
it's like, and I don't really, especially at the time when I first saw this, like, I didn't know who Deadpool was, so I didn't really care that his mouth was shut. And even now, like, I think I've only seen the first Deadpool. And because, I don't know, I guess, like, he's Weapon 11 at the end. I guess is that Deadpool? I guess it's supposed to be. In my mind, it just kind of, like, it's one of those divergences of comic books. So I guess I, like, have never had an issue with it because I figure... they're just different timelines, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. 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 I That's an easy thing to do with comic book movies where it's like, this doesn't make sense, but it does to someone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
someone who's read it.
It's just like, even if it works or it doesn't work, I don't know who in the world would have thought this is the idea.
Well,
you know
there
what
was
I
a
mean?
writer's
That's
strike,
so
Micah.
wild. Well,
so they had nothing for him. So they were like, just to make sure Ryan Reynolds doesn't talk, we're covering his mouth.
we're tired of him improvising.
Yeah, he's improvising too much now.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh, and I wrote this again. So Gambit takes Wolverine to the nuclear island, and Wolverine jumps out of the plane and skips on the water. And I wrote big oopsie on effects. And Deadpool's Weapon 11. We find out that the girl's death was faked.
Yes.
And Logan
she was manipulated.
devastated.
Their whole relationship was a sham.
Yes, it was.
To protect her sister.
And we find out that she has a mutant ability where when she touches someone, she can influence them,
Yep.
which she used earlier in the movie.
It was
They planted
hinted
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I because I couldn't remember what happened in this movie. I remember thinking like, oh, is she a mutant too? And then when they never referenced it, I thought, oh, okay, never mind. So the movie kind of tricked me.
Yeah.
I'll give them props for that.
Tricked me.
And then he knocks out Sabretooth and he wants to kill him, but he doesn't.
Because he's not an animal.
Yeah. Because he
has humanity.
walks away because he's like devastated that, oh, this was all a lie. Like, I'm here for revenge because you killed the woman I love. That didn't happen. It's not real. So he leaves. But then it was real for Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like,
true.
I don't remember exactly what she goes to do. But then Sabretooth is like grabbing her and she screams. And that's what gets Logan to like, come back.
Right.
And so then
Be a hero.
That's when he fights with Sabretooth and he's like about to probably chop his head off. And Kayla's like, no, you are not an animal. True love.
Right. That's right.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And then they break out all of the mutants.
Yeah.
And he runs on the cages, like breaking them all with his adamantium claws.
Pretty cool.
And then Charles Xavier speaks to Scott Summers. Did you know it was him right away?
No, I didn't. I thought
Jordan, rookie
I thought
mistake.
it was the kid who was frozen because he can tell people what to do.
Rookie mistake.
I want to never see the movie.
And then it's the big fight on top of the platform.
Yep. He has to face
the
Weapon
nuclear
11.
plant.
Yep.
And so Deadpool comes out and he has swords on his arms that come out.
In Deadpool, the movie, what is his explanation for his face being messed up? Is it this? He still references it's this like experiments done on him?
I believe it's experiments, but it's like basically the movie Deadpool kind of like Kateri saying, it like restarts Deadpool because all the experiments and stuff, it's not like they're showing footage from this movie. It's not designed like this movie. And then he's also able to say like, remember when they sewed my mouth shut? That was stupid.
Right.
So it's like it is a different Deadpool technically, I think. If we're being like if we're being the same people who discussed eye optics half hour ago, yeah, it's two different Deadpools.
Okay.
I like that. We should just refer to him as Weapon 11 in this movie. That makes it better. They fight for a while. They find out he's got all the powers. How are they ever going to beat him?
Well, Sabretooth comes and starts fighting too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they do the back to back.
Yeah.
Their classic position. Surely there's a better word for that.
I mean, hey, as far as positions go, that's one of them for sure. And then, I mean, I think they just kind of cut his head off, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I will say, I'm going to give props to the movie as well. We see he's got the optic eye blasts, of course, that open up from another dimension from Ruby Quartz visor, of course. When his head flies off, he's shooting the optic blast, and he goes down into the nuclear smokestack.
Still.
And it's like breaking it, and you can see how the head must be slowly spinning as it's falling. I think that's cool.
That is cool.
It is cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I do like too, Wolverine was blocking the eye beams.
Oh yeah, with his claws.
With his claws, and they were like,
they got hot.
They got hot.
That effect actually looked good. How did that look good?
Because it was really far away. Like we
Oh.
were seeing, I think, because it was like we were seeing it wide.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But and then that's how he decapitates him.
Yeah,
Nice touch.
Yeah.
I did like that part. Stryker comes out
Yep.
and he's like, okay, here we go. This bullet is just going to make you lose your memory. And he shoots him a bunch of times.
Yep.
Gets him twice in the head.
Hits him twice in the head.
And then Kayla tells him, she touches him and says, keep walking.
Walk until your
Feet
feet bleed
bleed.
and then walk some more.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do dig that as well. I always love something like that. And so he leaves, and then Gambit comes back, and he's like, Wolverine, let's get out of here. And he's like, who the hell are you? I hate you. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He has no memory,
Yep.
and he's an animal again. He gained his humanity, and now it's lost once again.
And it's tragic because he walks by Kayla, who has died because she, like, got shot or
She got a
something.
bullet
Yeah.
wound? Yeah.
So she had, like, dragged herself out, and they had, like, kind of met up again, but then he got shot by Stryker. And so he walks by her body, and Gambit's like, did you know her? And he's like, no. And you just weep because, yes, that's the love of your life until you meet Jean Grey and get a new one. But
yeah. Yeah, I think by the end of this movie, this love interest thing, it's like, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah. The movie ends. It's so short. We cut to William Stryker getting picked up mid-credits.
Yep.
And then post-credits, we see Deadpool's hand feeling around for his head.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a thing. I distinctly remember when I went to the midnight showing and then again the next day, there was a different post-credit scene where Wolverine is like in a bar, looks like probably like in Japan somewhere, and the bartender's like talking to him and says something to the effect of like, you know, like, are you drinking to forget or whatever? And Wolverine's like, no, I'm drinking to remember. But
Whoa.
that's like, I have it on DVD, and the end credit scene is like the Deadpool crawling back to his head, whatever. So I don't know, like, why
Well, would
like,
you
who
believe
made that decision?
I have an answer for you, Kateri?
You do? Please.
They had two different closing credits. I read about it when I was reading, but I assumed that I just didn't feel the need to bring it up because I haven't seen it, and I didn't know one of us had seen it, and different theaters showed different endings.
Different theaters did?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So you are one of the lucky few that saw that ending.
Yeah, I
That's
like
interesting.
Evan found it on YouTube for me, and it was really gratifying because like I've talked about it before and no one has known. Obviously it's a real thing, but like no one I talked to has known about it or like seen it. And I don't know, I guess I just am not good at searching if I ever even tried to like actually find it. I think it's way cooler than just like, who cares about Deadpool crawling back to his head? In
Yeah,
like
I like
in
that.
the context of X-Men, at least.
That sounds
like,
way better. Yeah. I'm drinking to remember is a
Yeah,
great
it's like
line.
thematic.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of famous comic stuff involving Logan being in Japan. So
really?
so that would be
What was he doing there?
Just wait for the
well,
Wolverine.
I believe that we're going to find that answer out
Oh, okay, wait. Oh, okay.
in a movie I haven't seen, but I know he's in Japan in that movie. And from some of my readings, but not all of them because I haven't read the definitive stuff, I don't think. I know that a lot of his backstory takes place in Japan
Oh, interesting.
with Mariko, I believe.
Who's that?
I
Guess
think
I'll
we're going to
find
find
out.
out, I bet.
Yeah.
He might have another love interest, Jordan. I
Oh.
hope that doesn't piss you off.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I thought at first I hoped it was Han from Fast and Furious.
Hey,
He could
Maybe
be
it
in
is.
it. I guess he could be in it. But I
You
mean
don't know.
Mariko.
I think that's the name. But anyway, so that's well, and again, I just want to stress that Charles Xavier shows up at the end and looks like a PlayStation 2
Yeah.
Was
cutscene,
it
and it's really
actually
bad.
Patrick Stewart?
I mean, it was his voice, right?
It
had
was
to be.
definitely
was.
his
I'm sure it
voice.
was.
If it was like, it just looks so bad. I just could never
Yeah.
imagine that it was like actually him, even if they did CG. I just could only picture like this had to just be a from scratch thing. If it was
Yeah.
like they put it over his face then that's even worse. It's so terrible. It's difficult to look at.
It is. It's assaulting.
Well, thankfully, it's very short.
Yeah. But that's the movie.
That's the movie.
Do we have some final thoughts, Kateri?
I don't know what to say that we haven't already said.
Hey, that's
I know,
okay.
I know that it like is not a masterpiece, but I still love it. And I think for like, it definitely, like you mentioned, it's an hour 44 or whatever. And a lot of stuff happens and there's like some very odd tone shifts. Like, oh, we go from committing war crimes to now I'm just a lumberjack in the Rockies to the love of my life is dead to,
Right.
oh, I'm like making fun of this fat man. Like there's just a lot of, I don't know, sections, but I think in like, I don't know, the format of an origin story, it works for me because it's like you are trying to get the full picture, so you kind of can forgive how quickly some things have to happen. Because like we cut to the Rockies and it's like, bam, here's this woman and they're in love. And you're like, I don't know anything of like, how did this happen? But I'm just going with it and like buying it. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot does happen.
What
in a
about you,
short
Jordan?
movie. It's okay.
Well, I'm very glad. I'm glad that you really like this movie, Kateri, because I think it would have just been like a total us just like convincing ourselves that it was worse than it really is.
Yeah.
You know, as we discussed it.
It's okay
and you
if
brought
you think
some...
that it's terrible.
No, but I mean I don't think it's good. but I don't think it's as bad as its reputation, certainly. And like I said, I mean, I could name, if I'm going not just MCU, but I'm just going comic book movies, I could probably name at least 15 that I would rather, that I would watch this over.
Yeah.
And it's so short and it's quick. And it just, like you're saying, I do enjoy that it just goes scene. Like when we were getting to the end, I'm like, okay, great. You're not dragging out like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, kind of bad, but it's got some kind of good.
Yeah. I like that.
And I'm glad it's got some fans.
Yeah, me too.
So, Kateri, do you have anything you would like to plug? Anything at all?
Nothing but my love for X-Men.
Awesome.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, and for us, it would probably be the month of February when this comes out. And I believe next week we will be covering Ant-Man and the Wasp. Or Ant-Man.
Please don't let me watch that.
Wasp,
Make me watch
Quantum
that.
Mania.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. And
yeah.
on Patreon this month, we are talking about Knives Out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can't wait
and
to
be
hear.
like Kateri. Kateri's a patron.
I am.
Be like Kateri. Let's go. So it's Micah patreon.com/Micah Macaw. Thanks for listening, everybody. Oh, and we're doing Ant-Man, and then we're taking a small break from X-Men, and we're doing the French trilogy of movies called the Colors Trilogy. 3 colors, blue, white, and red, which neither of us have seen and apparently are some of the best movies.
Apparently, and we get to revisit Julie Delpy, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. So I know that sometimes when we go overseas, sometimes listeners are not as apt to join us, but come on. It's France, baby.
Sometimes
Let's
they're
go.
the most rewarding movies to watch.
It's true. And then we'll go right back into X-Men.
Yeah.
We'll come back home.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.